All right, let's dive into one of the most tangled, most polarized conversations happening right now, the gender debate. It really feels like you have to pick a side, right? But today, we're going on a bit of a journey to explore if there's another path, a path that takes us past the usual talking points to something, well, something truly defensible.
And this is the big question, isn't it? It's the one so many of us are wrestling with. It's framed as a war, and you're supposed to pick your trench. But what if you're not looking for a fight? What if you're just looking for a place to stand that feels reasonable, that feels safe for everyone, especially for kids? Is that even possible?
So let's start where a lot of people do. Let's go searching for that solid, common sense middle ground. These are the arguments that, at first glance, just seem right. They seem perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, these are the ones you always hear, right? Just leave the kids alone. Both sides are crazy. They sound so balanced and protective. It feels like a really safe place to plant your flag. But here's the real test. Does this ground actually hold up when you put a little weight on it? Because, when you start to look a little closer, that solid ground, it starts to show some pretty serious cracks. So let's actually test that first argument.
I mean, on the surface, this sounds like the most sensible thing in the entire world. Protect childhood innocence, of course. But let's ask a serious question. What does leaving them out of it actually mean in the real world?
And here's where it gets complicated. The idea is protection, which is great, but the result is actually a form of erasure. Think about it. If we leave kids out of it, that means a teacher can't mention her wife. A kid with two dads can't draw his family for an assignment. That's not neutral. That is actively creating a world where only one kind of family, one kind of identity is visible and presented as normal.
Okay, now for an analogy you have definitely heard before. A kid pretends to be a cat one day, a superhero the next. So isn't exploring gender just another one of those make-believe phases? It sounds compelling, but let's see if that comparison actually makes any sense.
And boom, here is the critical flaw. Imaginative play is temporary. It's an activity. A core identity, that is persistent. It's an internal sense of self. For a kid who is genuinely experiencing gender dysphoria, this isn't a game they're going to forget tomorrow. It's who they are. And ignoring it, we know from the data, causes severe, documented psychological distress. So no, they're not the same thing at all.
So what about the both sides are just too extreme argument? It's easy to think that, right? Everyone is just screaming all the time. But what if, just for a second, we ignore the volume of the screaming and we actually listen to what is being screamed?
And when you do that, you see there is a profound, fundamental difference. One side's scream is basically, we exist, let us be here. It's a demand for inclusion. The other side's scream is, you are a threat. Your rights should be taken away. That's a campaign for exclusion. To say those two things are morally the same, well, that's a classic false balance.
This whole idea leads us to symbols, like the pride flag. Is it just a bunch of happy colors, a nice decoration, or is there something much, much deeper going on with its visibility?
I love this way of thinking about it. The pride flag isn't a party decoration, it's a fire alarm. It exists to signal a specific ongoing danger, homophobia, transphobia, and to rally people in solidarity against that threat. Its power comes from its specificity as a direct response to a real danger.
Okay, so those simple, common-sense middle ground arguments, they kind of fall apart under pressure. But that doesn't end the conversation. What about a more sophisticated, more intelligent challenge? Let's give a voice to the skeptic who questions the very foundation of this whole thing, medical consensus.
And that is a really sharp argument, right? It's also true. History's full of times the medical establishment was dead wrong. So this argument frames questioning, not as bigotry, but as a brave and necessary part of science. How in the world do you respond to that?
Well, the counterargument is the tourniquet analogy, and it just completely reframes the whole debate. It says, when you have a patient bleeding out right now, and we know the suicide rates for trans youth are alarmingly high, then standing on the sidelines and philosophizing isn't being cautious. It's a form of paralysis that has a very real, very human cost. Inaction becomes an action, and the patient dies.
So, how do we get out of this philosophical cage match? The only way forward is to stop debating abstract ideas and ground this whole problem in a real human story.
So let's meet the main character of our test case, a 12-year-old kid. He's not a talking point, he's not a political symbol, he's just a kid, trying to figure himself out, and he's stuck. caught between two very powerful opposing forces in his life.
On one side, you've got his dad. His politics are really strong, and it creates this environment of fear where the kid doesn't feel safe to honestly explore what he's feeling. But then, on the other side, you have a completely different kind of pressure. A teacher who means well, but instead of just listening and supporting him, she decides his crush on a girl isn't real and tries to push him into a box to claim him for her side.
And this is the moment the light bulb goes off. The real danger in this story isn't one side or the other, it's the act itself. It's ideological capture. It's when any adult looks at a confused kid and doesn't see a journey to support, but an opportunity to recruit a soldier for their cause.
So once you identify ideological capture as the real enemy, a whole new path just opens up. It's not about finding a weak compromise between two bad options anymore. It's about defining a single higher principle. Protect the child's process. Protect the journey. And this leads us to a new kind of a manifesto. It's not a wishy-washy compromise, it's a set of principles. We start with facts. Sex and gender are not the same thing. We look at the evidence, affirming care works, and this is key, that starts with social stuff, like using the right name, the right pronouns, way before any medical conversations. We acknowledge reality. Visibility matters, and oppression is deadly. But the absolute core of it is this command, for all adults. Stop using kids as billboards, which leads to the real goal. Let the established medical consensus guide what the care is, but let careful caution for that individual kid guide the pace.
And that brings us to the final powerful thesis. This is the defensible middle ground. It's a single, simple standard that applies to every single adult, no matter what you believe. Our job is not to draw the destination on the map for a child. Our job is to give them a map and a compass so they can navigate their own journey safely.
The principle itself is so clear, it's logical, it's protective. But we have to end with this last, pretty provocative question. Are the adults, on all sides of this thing, truly ready to put down their flags and their recruitment posters and just hand the kid a compass? That's the real question.